And now we are going to go back to Netflix and Friends, and we are going to talk strike and uncivil, what, an uncivil conflict, uncivil war?
Yeah, an uncivil war.
And an uncivil war.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So strike. Oh, good Lord! Now that you just put the poster up, and I realize what this is about.
Yes.
So yeah, okay. So yeah, okay. So okay, go ahead. Tell us about this, Sean.
This I just thought because I was interested about that. I thought I'd watch this, and I'd never really had any view. I was sort of one side or the other. But so this is basically about the Falklands War's finished. And Margaret Thatcher decides she's going to deal with the unions. So
yes,
she makes this. She wants a confrontation.
The miners' strike. That's the strike.
The strike is the miners' strike, and the 80s miners' strike.
So the miners' strike, the Battle of Orgrave, should we say, which was anyway. So she's decided she wants to break the unions. We've dealt with the enemy without. Now we're going to deal with the enemy within. So she comes up with this manual to make the police into a paramilitary. It's made me really, really angry, actually. But to a paramilitary force. And so it starts off with, like, the miners, they want to go on strike. They want to stop the pits closing. And they decide to go on strike. They did, to be fair, they didn't ballot them. It was just the Yorkshire miners, Scottish, Kent miners. They didn't ballot. What she did was she paid the Nottingham miners much more money, much more bonuses than she did the other ones. So the Nottingham miners are not going to go on strike. And there's this manual that they drew up from colonial pastimes of like snatch wads and
it's funny, right? It's funny that you said that, show, because once you said that she paid these people more, I was like, this sounds incredibly familiar coming from a country that was colonized.
Yeah. So they had this manual, and they basically turned the police into a paramilitary force. And this one day, it was really strange because they picketed some place, but this particular day, and it was quite funny, you got the miners talk, said it was really strange because the police was like waving us on, yeah, you go. And they said it was quite jovial. And when they got to this place at Orgrave, all of a sudden, all these police sort of lined up and they wanted a confrontation. They'd beaten their shields like in Zulu. And they basically sent out like horses to catch people. And it really annoyed me because the media, the BBC, they were like, oh no, it was the miners that started it. The miners got violent, the miners got this. They arrested 89 people and they were going to do them for riot, which carries a sentence, a life sentence. Anyway, the defence lawyers, all the police statements, they had policemen on there saying, they showed them the statements. He goes, that's not what happened. That's not the arrest statement. And it made me really, really angry. A bit like Hillsborough, I guess. It was like a major, well, it was meant to happen. She wanted to break the unions. And
it was a cover-up.
Yeah, it was a cover-up. And, it's all, the evidence. So when these people went to court, these miners went to court, they said, can we see the manual? The government said, no, we're not going to show you the manual. All the statements, so you had policemen in Kent that had the same statements as people in North Yorkshire. So they basically fabricated the statements like they did at Hillsborough.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sharon, I know you're in the police, but it just really, really upset me.
Is it just about this one particular incident, or is it broadly about
it's the whole thing? So it's the whole thing. So, and I know it happened, and I was neither one or the other. I thought I'd be some of the other. But the policeman who was in charge, the head of the Nottingham Constabulary, it was all worked out. It was. That started off with the miners, that we were done with a hail of bullets and that, so we charged them, hail of rubble and stuff. And it really, really upset me a lot. And to have that Maggie Thatcher afterwards, they had a big party with all the constabulary, all the top constabulary. So they actually had policemen in this film saying, they showed this to a policeman, he goes, that didn't happen. He said, is it written? They said, no, it's typed. So they were freed. The miners that were going to get done for rioting were freed. So yeah, I got really affected me, this film. I thought about it for a long time.
Oh, all right.
So cool. I haven't seen this film, but I obviously historically I started working for the police in 1987, and just 2 years after this. So every single police officer I worked with, they had no choice. They had to go to the miners' strike. So everyone I've worked with, and we had lots of conversations about the miners' strike. So I know a lot of officers who went for miners' strike, and one of my close friends and colleagues, he drove the non-striking miners to the pits.
Yeah.
He drove the convoys, and others who were on the, you talk about them hitting the shields. I had one of my friends who was there, who was with the riot shield, and who did that baton thing, and he was in 3 charges he was involved in. And I've had others who said, I spent 6 weeks on up at the miners' strike, and I spent the whole time just watching the crops being ploughed, harvested, and then he said, I did nothing. I just basically sat around. It was like Billy Elliot. You see in Billy Elliot in the background.
Yeah.
I was going to say for anybody...
I spent 6 weeks just put my feet up watching the crops being harvested.
Yeah, I was going to say for anybody who doesn't understand about this, because it's a very, very British story, which I had to learn after I came here and actually through research and documentaries and all that. If you watch Billy Elliot, it's the conflict that's going on in the background. Billy Elliot is set up against the backdrop of this strike.
Yeah, so my personal experience of it is most people had more of a Billy Elliot experience than involved in riots and involved in charges. And then don't forget that at one time police officers had no choice; they all had to go at least once.
That's the paramilitary.
There's a letter. The government sent out a letter to all the constabularies, and they said, "Don't worry about how much you've got to pay. The government pay."
My friend admits, one of my friends said it paid for his first house. Yeah, it paid for his mortgage, because you would just to explain how it worked on the island. If you were based, say, for example, at any police station on the island, you were told you would report at your own station at 2:00 in the morning, and that's when your duty starts. You report to your home station, and your duty starts then. And then you will be transported by buses to the centralised Newport station in Newport, and you get your debrief. Then you'll be transported to the ferry, and you'll be on the ferry. Then you get driven from the ferry to the airport, and you get flown to Leeds or wherever. Then you're driven to the miners' strike and to the front line, and then you're on your picket, and then you go back to the barracks, and then you hot bunk.
Yeah, I understand all that, Sharon. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not trying to vilify the police. I'm trying to vilify the government and some of the top lot of the constabulary, and I'm fairly sure the normal British policeman was okay, but they did this 2 years. 2 years this was they formed this paramilitary police force. So I'm not saying like the people.
So when you say about a paramilitary, I don't understand how you can set a paramilitary police force.
Watch it.
Yeah, so I'm
watch it.
Okay, so Sean, where did you find this? That doesn't
make any sense to me. Someone in the policing world that doesn't. How could you create using normal constabularies? Because they came from all over the country. So how could you create a paramilitary police force?
Anyway, I'll give this a 4-star. I'll give this one a 4-star.
Okay, where did you watch this, Sean?
I watched it Netflix.
So Netflix strike. So Sharon, you can see it, and you can let us know which bits you believe are them talking.
I'd like you to see it, Sharon. I really would.
Talking out of different bodily orifices. Right.